Good Wednesday evening, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here with another important weather forecast. In this update, I'm going to give you the very latest information on this upcoming ice storm with some heavy snowfall for the Great Lakes and the Northeast. And then we are talking about a train of significant snowstorms and ice storms across the Great Lakes and the Northeast. Each of these winter storms could deliver up to a foot or more of snowfall and inches of ice potentially. So with that being said, here's a look at the latest NAM 3-kilometer model. This is a meso model that I like to use over the next 48 to 60 hours. And what we're looking at here is the Great Lakes, the Northeast region, as well as the Ohio Valley. And this is for tonight on your Wednesday into Thursday. And what this is telling us is where there's going to be freezing rain, where it's going to be rain, or where it's going to be snowing. So that's what these different colors actually illustrate. And at this given time at 9 o'clock tonight, there's going to be a lot of freezing rain over central Indiana, southern Ohio, and also over portions of West Virginia and far western Maryland. Okay, and this is going to escalate, and even in portions of northern Illinois. Let's put this into motion now into tomorrow morning for your morning commute. So you can see by the overnight hours into your morning commute here at around 6 in the morning on Thursday, this is where there's going to be some decent snow briefly, all right? It's going to be an interesting system where many areas will start off with snow and it's going to transition over to sleet and then freezing rain. That mix, okay, that wintry mix that's going to be in place. So over New Jersey, yes, you're looking at snow, freezing rain, and sleet for your morning commute. If you're in Pennsylvania, like say if you're in Philadelphia, if you're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, if you're in Erie, Pennsylvania, you're going to be looking at some freezing rain to start, and then it might turn over to rain at the end. And actually, this is what that's showing, maybe some rain briefly in its wake after all the precipitation is done. It's going to be warm enough for that transition over to rain. But look at the Northeast. It's still snowing pretty good, including for Maine as well as New Hampshire and Vermont, getting some good, decent snow out of this system. And then that's really all with that system. But there is going to be more storms after this, okay? Please bet me on it. There's going to be a lot of intense snowstorms coming. This is only a first in a series of them. So looking at those snowfall amounts over the Northeast, you can see here, actually, let's just kind of show you that sector. This is how much snow you're going to see with storm number 1, okay? So we're looking at anywhere between 2 to 4 inches of snow mainly. So this is not a huge snow producer by any means, but the higher elevations, like the very top there of some of these mountains in Vermont, you might see about a foot of snow with some strong gusty winds and maybe a foot of snow in some of the higher elevations. But otherwise, not really a impactful system by all means on the snowy side of things. But what about on the freezing rain side of things? This is when we run into a lot of problems. In fact, we're going to use the national blend of models because that's going to give us a more, the National Weather Service. We will use the national blend of models because there is our ice accumulation forecast. And what this is telling us is it's a blend of all the models. So this is basically the super ensemble forecast, painting a picture over central Ohio, anywhere between about 1/10 to maybe 1/4 of an inch, and anywhere between 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of ice over Pennsylvania, in portions of West Virginia, northern Virginia, as well as Maryland. And yes, please take note of this. There could be a glaze up to about a few hundredths of an inch of ice in New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, that is, including for New Jersey. So keep that in mind for your morning commute. Some slick roadways are anticipated, and then over northern portion there of Illinois, you're looking at about a glaze to maybe about a few hundredths of an inch of ice, including for Detroit. So yes, there will be some ice, but especially over here where I circled in black is where you're looking at the most accumulation. When it comes to now the sleet accumulations, this is basically ice falling from the sky. It's ice pellets. It's not to be confused with hail, which is hailstones from the sky. This is ice from the sky, pellets. And what we're looking at, anywhere between about 1/10 to 1/2 inch of pellets accumulation on the ground, on streets and surfaces. So this is going to be the non-damaging ice that leads to power outages. But yeah, when you put ice and then sleet on top of that, there's going to be some extra weight. And so we are looking at some power outages with the sleet amounts that we're seeing. And then, of course, up here across northern Indiana, northern Ohio, southern Michigan, we're looking at about 1/10 of an inch of sleet accumulation. So yeah, some dicey travel conditions out there for Thursday, for Thursday into Friday, so to speak, over the Northeast and Great Lakes. Now that we talked about storm number 1 from Thursday morning all the way through early Friday morning for the Great Lakes and the Northeast, it's a good idea that we really start focusing on the extended forecast over the next couple of weeks, because most of the models are honing in at multiple intense snowstorms, especially for the Northeast. It's looking really bad, folks. We're looking at feet of snowfall. We're looking at a lot of ice, a lot of sleet in some of these areas, and along to go with that, some colder air at times coming in out of the north with some heavy rainfall over the Ozarks and the Appalachians. So yes, a stormy pattern is coming your way over the next couple of weeks. So looking at the European model now for Saturday morning timing, storm number 2. All right, follow along here. Storm 2 coming this weekend into the Northeast and the Great Lakes. And it starts here in the high plains. Heavy snowfall is anticipated over the Dakotas as well as Minnesota, so keep that in mind. We're looking at light to moderate snowfall for Saturday morning. Good news, not a lot of people commute on the weekends, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but still, we're looking at some snow up here, and of course, rainfall, which will become another disaster of heavy ice accumulations over here in the northern Ohio Valley. Now, when we go into Saturday afternoon on the 8th of February here for the Great Lakes, this is when the system is going to get more dynamic. Heavier snowfall on the northern side of the system, heavier rainfall on the southern side, and anything in between is destruction. We're talking a lot about ice across northern Indiana, northern Ohio here. The model has been pretty consistent at showing this thing being pretty strong and really impactful. So that's why we're introducing it in today's video. And then this gets even worse. By the time we go into Sunday morning on the 9th of February here, look at how heavy the snowfall is going to be. Let's go into the New England area, because this is where the snow is going to be really intense, especially for upstate New York, for Vermont, New Hampshire, as well as Connecticut, and even in Massachusetts. But look at all of this pink here. This is that freezing rain. So yeah, downtown New York looks to get some snow, but then the destructive stuff comes in, and boy, this is a really populated area. This is going to be bad, really bad, and this is in about 3 to 4 days. So as we go forward, you can see this continues to be a problem right here. Actually, New York City may spare the best, but it's a close call. It really is. And then to the north is where you're looking at the heaviest snowfall just continuing here, and that system is out of here by Sunday night and evening on the 9th of February, leaving everyone dry. But guess what? There's more. It's just going to keep coming. All right, but at least there's a break in between all of this. So, but then by Monday, look what we get. Another system. What do we get? More snow. More ice in the same areas, only this one is going to be a little further to the south because the colder air does advance a little southward. But boy, it's just going to be a nasty, nasty active week ahead for a lot of people in the lower 48, as well as the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. So that's Tuesday morning on the 11th. Let's go into Wednesday early morning for your morning commute. And again, look at the same areas that are getting impacted here. More heavy snowfall for New England, for the mid-Atlantic, getting some ice here. Just same areas that have not gotten one storm, but going to get 2 storms, then getting the 3rd one here by the early to the middle of next week. And this is about day 7 from happening. And then for California, for Nevada, it's going to be stormy here too. More rain, more high elevation snow, just a really active weather pattern that we're running into for the middle of February. So that is kind of a done deal there for the Northeast, but look at Southern California, going to get some good rainfall, hopefully, fingers crossed on that. This would be for Wednesday, by the way, on the 12th of February, and then by the time we go into the 13th and the 14th of February, so right around the Valentine's Day period, it's not going to be Valentine's wishful for a lot of you unless you like the snow. There's more ice, more snow for the Northeast, and then there's another system here developing across the northern tier. This continues to be a thing with impulses of snow and ice across the Northeast and portions of the Great Lakes. All right, that moves through by the end of next week. This is nearly about 10 days out, so be cautious, folks, when you watch these videos. I do go out far in time, beyond the 10-day forecast sometimes when I'm confident enough about a very active pattern setting up here, like what we've been seeing in many model runs so far. So this is the 14th, this is the 15th of February, and that's another look at another ice storm for the Midwest. I mean, just storm after storm after storm. This is storm 4 or 5. I lost count because there's just so many that are going to be popping off here in the lower 48. This one, though, could be the gold medalist of the worst impacts. I shouldn't even say gold medalist. We don't want this to be a gold medal storm, but I'll tell you, it is going to be franchise of producing some of the heaviest freezing rain accumulations in a long time. And I'm telling you, this is coming from the Euro model just beyond the 10-day forecast. So this is in the medium range forecast of possibility here, looking out to the 16th of February. And look at it, this could be a really, really big system right here. This is the 16th to the 17th of February. Gosh, it's just storm after storm, and then maybe beyond that, something else could develop. It doesn't stop. It really doesn't. Now, looking at the GFS model here, showing you all the same thing, but a different model, of course. Let's put this into motion. There is storm number 2. Follow me. Dose, right? Over Pennsylvania, over to the Northeast. Again, bringing sleet, freezing rain, and snow to New York City, as well as upstate New York. That moves through by the time we go into Monday morning, so your morning commute should not be impacted at all. And then maybe something down here, maybe a little bit of snow and freezing ice accumulation there across central Virginia, not West Virginia, but Virginia State near Norfolk area, as well as Newport News area. Okay, and then look at this. Another storm, all right, for New Jersey, for New York. That's for Tuesday, February the 11th. And here comes a fourth one, actually. And then here comes the fourth one over the desert Southwest. So, yeah, really active pattern here and here. Boy, yeah, Valentine's Day and before that could be pretty stormy for some locations. And that storm goes through the Northeast. And then here's another one. More snow, really heavy rainfall over the Ozarks. That goes into the Northeast literally in 10 days from now. And there's another storm in lower latitudes, such as the Carolinas. That would be the 17th of February. That goes by. Maybe something weaker, way weaker. And then maybe more after that. But if we look at our 12Z model run, that showed us something a lot different. More of a stormy setup here for the northern plains for the Great Lakes. And then more after that. Just in simple terms, there's going to be too much storms, just one after another, that we only could focus on one storm at a time. That's basically where we're at, folks. Now, when it comes to those snowfall totals over the next 2 weeks, wow, I'm telling you all, pretty stinking serious here in my video that, wow, this is the most snow I have ever seen on the European model for the Northeast in probably 5 or 6 plus years. It has been a long time since we have seen this much snow. And in fact, so much snow that some areas here could get basically 50 to almost 80 inches of snowfall over the course of 2 weeks. Through the 20th of February here, this would be a disaster. This would literally be a disaster if it actually comes true. The good news is it's only off of one run, and we shouldn't really be betting ourselves on this, because if we look at the 0Z run, it did show a lot lesser, but still in that 40 to 80 inch benchmark is on the table here, especially from Pennsylvania into much of New York State. The New England area could get slammed with mini snowstorms through the middle of February. And then, of course, down here in Missouri, could get a couple of feet of snowfall in the course of a couple of weeks. Now, zooming back out here, looking at the rest of the nation, the Intermountain West getting a lot of snowfall, but that's typical when you have a lot of these snowstorms moving across the Pacific Northwest and the Four Corners region and the Intermountain West Desert Southwest region. Now, looking at the ensemble forecast from the Euro model, 51 different versions of each individual member to make this a blend of the ensemble average. And I'll tell you what, that's 2 feet of snow, though. That is 2 feet of snowfall across much of the Northeast. All right, let me go to the New England area so you all can see this. 2 feet of snowfall from a ensemble forecast. That's a really high average, to say the least. And this has been trending about the same. In fact, on this run, it has trended a little higher in the long term. We're looking at about 24 to 36 inches on the European ensemble here for portions of New England. So that's a big concern when you see that from an ensemble forecast. Lots of snow coming for the northern half of the United States, and a lot of snowfall for the Intermountain West still to come there on the ensemble forecast for the Sierra, looking at 60 inches to come over the course of 2 weeks. Now, looking at the GFS deterministic forecast, one single run, yes, see, it's painting a lot of snow for the Northeast and also now for the northern half of the nation here of the United States, and of course for the Intermountain West. When we look at that from the ensemble standpoint, we're not looking at quite, well, this is out to 10 days. The the GEFS ensemble has finished rendering, and again, it is still showing the same thing like the Euro. Remarkable confidence between these two models. The European ensemble and the GEFS ensemble, both hinting at 1 to 3 feet of snowfall in the course of 2 full weeks. Okay, 2 full weeks, 14 to 16 days out. We're looking at that much snow. The Intermountain West getting quite a bit of snow, possibly over 70 inches of new snow to come for that area. So good news for Californians for the Pacific Northwest, which had a kind of a tough January, now coming out of that into February. Rainfall totals are looking very concerning over the Ozarks, the Appalachians, and the Mid-Atlantic, including for the Deep South and the Southeast here. Check this out. From all 51 members of the European ensemble, highlighting a good shot at seeing anywhere between 5 to 8 inches of rainfall over Tennessee, Kentucky, northern portion there of Alabama, Georgia, northern portion there of Mississippi, including for portions here of the Mid-Atlantic. So there's going to be the risk of flooding, and there could be substantial flooding out of this because we're just going to get rainstorm after rainstorm after rainstorm down here. And get this, to make matters worse, you had Hurricane Helene that went over these areas, dumping historic rainfall totals. So you really don't need any more rain. You really don't, and you're just going to pile up more water where it shouldn't belong. And what ends up happening is rivers, creeks, and streams end up overflowing here. So this is a really bad situation for the Southeast and the Mid-Atlantic, with more rainfall to come for California over the course of a couple of weeks. So yeah, really active pattern here. When it comes to your precipitation anomaly forecast, well above average, possibly record-breaking numbers here over the Ozarks and the Appalachians of Tennessee, and also for Kentucky, northern Georgia, northern Mississippi, and Alabama. Really in the flood zone here for well above average rainfall. And then, of course, over Maryland, southern portion there of Delaware, as well as New Jersey, getting a lot of problems there with rainfall and some ice accumulation. And, of course, over the Pacific Northwest, near average precipitation here. But, of course, this is one model run. If we look at previous runs, we can see similar outcomes here. Downtrended a little bit, but that's because our current storm yesterday that we had. Now that we talked about those big snowstorms coming across the Great Lakes and the Northeast over the next couple of weeks, we need to talk about the cold Arctic air. This is going to be a huge problem, and at times this is going to be making national headlines. So let's get into it. So looking at the European ensemble here at your temperature anomaly, so these blue, green colors, dark blues, and purples indicate temperatures below average, whereas if you're in the orange, red, dark red, and grayish colors, those are temperatures above average. The departure from normal is what we're looking at here. And so moving this forward, you can see there is the big Arctic outbreak again. This is just, I can't believe it. We have had more Arctic outbreaks in the months of January and February than we did in December, despite December being the shortest days of the entire calendar year. Yeah, this is definitely something to take note of. Very cold air here being draped across the west, the Pacific Northwest, and the northern tier of the United States. This is going to continue to be a thing as we go throughout the middle of February, looking well below average temperatures in these areas. And then eventually some of that colder air moves into the Great Lakes and the Northeast, followed by those big snowstorms. So it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all, and this continues to be a huge issue through the entire couple of weeks here, looking at well below average temperatures here for the Great Lakes, for the Northeast, and of course across much of the Northwest and California. When we look at those actual temperatures here, this is looking pretty serious. Actually, let's look at your apparent temperature, because this is what everyone's going to be referring to when you hear about the term, oh, it's negative 30 out there, right? It's what it feels like, for an example. So going forward here in time, look at these wind chill values up here across the northern tier over the next couple of days, negative 20 to negative 30 degrees. That's where the colder air is going to be, but don't let that fool you, right? Don't get used to it, because look what's coming. Towards the middle of February here over the next 5 days, you can see that colder air getting further south, and it continues. Look at these wind chills over Montana. Oh my goodness, negative 60 degrees below zero there. That is brutal, and going to continue through the 14th and the 15th of February. Look at this, is it just insane. Wind chill values down here in the single digits in the middle of February. Unbelievable. In, say, if you're in, say, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, really cold temperatures continue there. And look at this, is going to be the thing throughout the entire forecast, with repeated Arctic outbreaks coming in out of Canada. But anyways, if you found this video really helpful, detailed, and informative, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell notification icon, give this video a huge thumbs up, and leave a comment in the section below this video along to go with hit the share button, check out our Discord server, and lastly, please take the YouTube channel survey. There will be a link in the description below this video. I need all of your guys' responses on that survey so I can do the best that I can for you all that watch this channel. But otherwise, thank you all for watching, and I'll be back with you more tomorrow.